Okay, everybody. I think we'll have a few other people join in here as we go along, but just want to respect everybody's time. Thank you very much for attending. This is a review of John Deere's AgLogic tools and Operations Center. And the way we're structuring this today, we've done a few of these sessions in the past, focused for our farmer customers. And we're going to spend this time going over this as it pertains to ag service providers if you're working with other customers. And us as a company at Kibble Equipment, we haven't done a whole lot with AgLogic, but we're getting into it more. So that's why we're having these sessions to increase awareness and see what kind of interest there is. So that I'll go into some of the logistics here. First introductions. My name is Chris Horb. I'm the product support manager for Kibble. I sit in Owatonna here. It's a beautiful Minnesota day out there today. The roads were a little sketchy. And then with me from John Deere is Allie. Allie, can you introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Allie Antonovich, and I am an ag retailer implementation specialist for John Deere's Intelligent Solutions Group. You want to try saying that 10 times fast, but it is my focus and goal to really work with our retailers and cooperators and make sure that they understand our digital tools, help dealers provide training for those, and then as well as take your feedback and feed it back into the business so that when we develop new features or enhancements, we have the ag retailer in mind.
Perfect. And then also on the line here too, we got a couple other folks from Kibble. Dan and Mike, can you just introduce yourself? And AJ.
Hi.
We couldn't hear you, Dan. I'll do it on Dan's part. Dan's one of our commercial sales specialists, kind of based out of the Marshall area.
How about now?
Oh, there you go.
Got it. So, yep, based out of Marshall, sales specialist for application equipment.
AJ?
AJ or Aaron Johnson with Kibble Equipment, sprayer specialist out of Madison, South Dakota.
Mike Story, Kibble Equipment, Owatonna, Minnesota, sprayer manager.
Cool. Thanks, guys. So they're going to help monitor the chat. So logistically, how this is going to work, we do have everybody else on mute because we don't want to have any embarrassing Teams or Zoom incidents here today. So if you do have a question, please use the chat. If you just depending on your interface, there's a little bubble icon that you can tap in there. So just to test that out, if everybody could either give us a thumbs up, or if there's a specific question that you have that you would like to learn today around AgLogic or Operations Center, please put it in the chat. And that it's not your only opportunity as we go through this. Please be chiming in. This will be recorded for future consumption too, and we're going to have another one of these sessions tomorrow morning in case some of your coworkers want to join in and didn't get a chance to and want to do it live. The way we're going to be structured here, first, let me put this up so you guys have an opportunity. If you do have a CCA and you would like to use this class to earn some CEUs, if you're like me, I usually am scrambling in December every year. So you can use their app. If you got the app, please scan that, and that should automatically add it. It's 2 professional development credits. If you are watching the recording, I'm told that will not work. You had to have been here the same day to make that work. And then if you do not have the app, I do have a list of when you registered. You should have put your CCA number in there, and I will submit that for credits. Yeah, so with that, I'll leave this up for a little bit as we talk logistics. So for about the first hour-ish or so, Allie is going to review AgLogic. And then after that, we do have a break built in. We'll see how things are doing. We'll kind of pull the group if we want to take a break or not. And then I'll take over and review Operations Center, really focused on things that you can use Operations Center for when you're working with your customers and also looking at your equipment. So with that, I will turn it over to Allie.
Thank you, Chris. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Can y'all see, Chris, can you see my screen okay?
Yep, looks great.
Perfect. So today I am going to talk about AgLogic. If you are familiar with Operations Center, when it was initially developed, it was very focused towards our growers and end-use customers and the farmer, in the farming, and ag, even CNF. But really those growers was the focus. And now we have all these ag retailers and cooperators that are using Operations Center, but there's additional functionality in there or enhancements that we could make that could really bring that full circle for you. And then we developed AgLogic about 11 years ago. So it's been in the industry for a while, but it wasn't very well spread or marketed in the past. But it was very focused towards our ag retailers. So we have these two separate systems which provide two separate experiences. And as a company, over the last year, we've realized there's a really big need or focus to put it into our ag retailers and cooperators. And so that's why roles like myself now exist. And they are very actively working to integrate the two systems. When I say that, if you're already on AgLogic, or if you're interested in getting on AgLogic, don't be concerned that the one system is going to go away and then it will become part of Operations Center. It's really going to be a step process. And so one day when you log into AgLogic, you really might, behind the scenes, being logged into the map page in Operations Center. And so as we go, I'll point out some of these key things that we're already integrating. But the goal is that in a year from now, a year to 24 months from now, you'll have one system that you log into that will do everything that you need it to do. With that, I'm going to get started with AgLogic. I am going to do a very basic overview, so not too in-depth. So if you do have questions, please use that chat. And at the end, if we have time, we can answer some of those questions. And then we can also set up time, separate time individually as well to walk through with the dealer any questions or do a more in-depth demo. So AgLogic, it is our goal to make sure you get the right resources to the right location at the right time. We've have several customers already, and we've surveyed them to ask, what does AgLogic help you do? And this is some of the feedback that we've gotten. It really helps you grow profits, improve your risk management, improve your asset utilization and productivity. AgLogic is made up of 3 components. We have the web, so this is really where your scheduler, dispatcher, manager, maybe your billing admin, sales agronomist. This is really where all those individuals would log in to see the flow of the day, where work orders are, equipment. Then we also have your AgLogic Advanced, and this is your operator app. So this app can be downloaded on any smart device that has a screen of 8 inches or bigger. So it does have to be that tablet. I don't think they have a phone that's 8 inches yet, but I'm sure it's coming. So if you have that tablet that's 8 inches or bigger, it only requires 1 gigabyte of data. Then you can download the operator app. And this is where they get their work orders dispatched to them, where they can complete and track that data as well. And then the third component of AgLogic is our basic or our tender app. And so this is can be downloaded on any smart device that you can download apps, so your everyday cell phone. And this is just a separate app for them where they can see the logistics of the day and those work order details as well. I'm going to go over these kind of at a higher level, but I'm actually going to get into the web and give you a live demo. But on our web, the dispatcher view, they do get that schedule and work orders. They can see where all their equipment is, where all of their work orders are located. They can see those work order details, and there's a slew of reports you can also pull around productivity and efficiency. For your advanced operators, again, I'll get into a better demo for this, but really some of those key functions, allowing them to get that work order electronically. So there's no more need for the paper copies. Everything goes out electronically to that tablet. Even if they lose service throughout the day, they will be able to track the work that they are doing. And once they come back into service, it'll send all that back to the web. They get driving directions. Can see where your tender is, and they're obviously sending their location back to the web at all times. This does work with all makes and models because it is a through the app is how we're tracking you today. So it doesn't matter if your equipment is green or not, we will be able to include you or include that equipment in the dispatching and logistics solution. Lastly is our tender truck. Some of those key functionalities, they get to see those work orders, they're getting those boundaries, and they're getting to see where their applicator's at all times. This really cuts down on the number of phone calls if you don't have this kind of functionality today. Again, we'll get into more detail. With that, I am going to shoot out to the web. When you log in to AgLogic, this is the page that you will land on. So you will come and you'll see on the left-hand side, you'll see your schedule page. So you can see where your equipment's at any given point in time. You can select that equipment and see when it last reported its location. So we haven't been working for a few days or over a week, but we've got the last location, it was in transit. This is the last work order it worked on, the customer farm field information. It's telling me what direction they were headed as well. If for any reason a piece of equipment loses location, so maybe you're in an area and it doesn't have great service, it would tell me that they've lost location after 10 minutes. And you can set this parameter. So if you really want to be notified after 5 minutes, you can receive the notification then, or 20 minutes, whatever you want. The system is set at 10 minutes today, but I would be able to know that. In addition to seeing your equipment, you can see where your tenders are at all times. You can see where they're located, what direction they were headed, where they're returning back to the plant. You can see which work order they were on. And then in addition to your equipment, you can also see your work orders. And so I apologize, your map would not be zoomed out like mine. I have equipment all over the US. But when you log in and you see these work orders, you will also see if they are assigned to an applicator, they will be given a number and a color. So I can select that piece of, or that work order, and I can see additional details. So here it's telling me the customer farm field information. It's letting me know that this is assigned to applicator 8360. There are 3 tenders associated with that are also assigned. It'll give me any products associated with this work order, as well as a view of the boundary. If I wanted to add a prescription file or make any comments for the operator to see as well, I can do that here from AgLogic. On the right-hand side, so on the left-hand side, you see your equipment, your work orders, your you also see any tendering location, your tenders, and any plant locations. On the right-hand side, you actually see your work orders. So today we're integrated with 8 different back office software systems, some unique to certain retailers, and then also some of your key ones, such as AgVance, Agris, Agrian. Those are some of the ones that we're also integrated with. And then when you create or generate a work order in one of those systems, it'll automatically send it over here into AgLogic. And so we do support 3 different work order types today. We have your sun, which is a dry work order, a green diamond, which is a gas, and your teardrop, which is a liquid order. Those are the 3 types of work orders you can send into AgLogic and dispatch today. In addition to the work order types, we also will pull over any prescription files you have associated with those work orders. So today, if you are in AgVance and you create a work order, you attach a prescription, it would automatically flow over here to AgLogic. And if it has a prescription file, you would see that paperclip right here. We do have an integration with Raven Slingshot as well as all our JD Link machines. And so as soon as this work order is assigned to a piece of equipment, this prescription file will be sent to that display. So if you have any of your John Deere machines, all of the newer ones should be connected to JD Link. That is free today. And so for any of those machines, if you have prescription files, you don't have to go out to Operations Center anymore and send a setup file or send a USB. Through AgLogic, as soon as this work order is assigned to that piece of equipment, the prescription file will go. Same goes for Raven Slingshot. So if you have any non-Deere machines that have a Raven or maybe like a Viper display that has Raven Slingshot, we will send that prescription file onto the Raven Slingshot. In addition to these work orders, to go ahead and assign them, you just have to select that work order and then go ahead and hit assign. It'll pull up all your different applicators. you do have the ability to assign a work order to multiple applicators. In this case, I'm just going to assign it to the 8360R. I go ahead and hit OK. It removes that work order from the schedule page and we'll put it here on the applicator schedule. So that's one very easy, simplistic way to assign a work order. Another way is maybe I want to sort by crop. So I want all of my work orders that have the same crop type. I want to go ahead and group them together and assign those to the same applicator. I could go here and sort by corn, or maybe I want to sort by product. So I want all my products listed in alphabetical order, and I have atrazine on these first two. So I want to assign them to the same piece of application equipment. I can do that. So all of these fields up here are filterable. So maybe you have a customer and you want to group all that customer's work orders together. You can go ahead and filter by that. The other nice feature here, or that sometimes gets used, is, hey, I want all these atrazines, but I actually want to know how much product there is here. So maybe I have 2 different tanks or 2 different pieces of equipment that are going to be applying this today, and I want to get a product total of how much I need. I can go out here and select product total, and it will tell me how much quantity of this product I need. So sometimes we have people that will schedule work orders, or customers who will schedule work orders based off how much that tank can handle, right? So if I have 6 work orders, I'm going to schedule these 4 work orders first, because I know that this piece of application equipment won't have to come back in for a reload, because they can hold that much product for those 4 work orders. Another way that we see a lot of customers go and dispatch or assign these work orders is utilizing this as advanced filter. In AgLogic, we do have a hierarchy structure. And what I mean by that is you can have one org to multiple locations. And so a lot of times people will set up their AgLogic account by their division or region, and then they'll have those locations under there. When I say hierarchy structure, what I mean is I can have one org out here with multiple locations, and I can give users, as I add them to the account, access to just 1 location, 2 locations, or, to the entire organization. And so if I have someone that just works at the Urbandale location, I could give them access just to Urbandale. And so it's a way for, that next level to see everything that's going on, but then still keep your different locations separate if needed. This is another great filter, though, because you can come in here, you can filter, like I said, if you want to enter that customer name, and I only want to see those customer work orders for this customer on the map as well as the schedule page, I can filter by that. I can filter by crop type as well. Another nice one is this product. So if I want to filter all the work orders that have atrazine, I can go in here and select that. And then I can also select there's another product. So if I put any 2 products that I select here, 2 or more, any products that I select here, they would have to have all of those products if and is selected. If I select or, that means it has to have one or the other product that I select in here. This is just another way for you to filter. So in this example, I'm just going to pretend I've gone in. Actually, I'm going to do it for you. I'm going to go in and get that atrazine. I only want to see those work orders. I can put in an order date, request the date if I want, liquid types, whether or not it has a prescription file. I can sort by a particular location. I'm going to go ahead and filter. Now it's only going to show me those work orders here on the map or on the schedule page, and then only my open work orders that have that atrazine are going to show up on the map as well. And so it's just an easier way for me to go out here and actually see that work order detail or that information on that map. In addition to looking at those different work orders, you have the ability to use this multi-select tool. So maybe I've gone out, I filtered by my product, and now I have the ability to look on the map and say, I want all the work orders, and I can either use a rectangle or a polygon, and I want all the work orders in this area that have that product. I want to go ahead and assign them to this particular applicator. You have the ability to do that. The nice thing about this is, the nice thing about it is when you go in and you select these work orders or a subset of area, and I want all the work orders in this area that have the same product, I can go in and then assign those, excuse me, I can go in and assign those at one time. And so now I know all the work orders on my map, they all have the same product. I want to go ahead and assign those to the same piece of application equipment because they're in the same order. It'll pull those up. I go ahead and hit assign, and it will assign to that piece of equipment. I have gas, liquid, and dry in there, so that wasn't a great example. But it's another way to easily assign a group of work orders at one time. So instead of just selecting multiple work order or work order types, I can select work orders that all have the same product, assign them to an applicator that's in that area, and that applicator can go throughout the day without having to rinse. Another nice feature, now that the work order has moved over and it's here on our applicator schedule, I can go and there's just a few different things I can do. So if McIntyre calls in and says, hey, I really need you to get to Higgins Field right away, I've got a lot of stuff going on and I need that field done, I can drag and drop that to the top of the schedule. This will update the work order list here, and it will also update it on my operator's tablet. So now my operator knows in which order to complete these. There's also a little box here. I don't have a piece of equipment working. However, if I did, right here where it says not started, it would say in process with the green arrow, and I would know that this is the work order that the operator is working on. I then could come in and actually view that work order and view their breadcrumbs as they go throughout the field. And so as this operator is going, I can see, oh, they're 90% done. I could add another work order at this time. Or I could remove a work order if needed. If it's later in the day and I need someone else to get to it, I could do that then. You also have the ability to, once these are assigned, we have this tool that's called route optimization. And I can go out in here, choose a starting point. So maybe it's where this operator left off. Or if I have a customer that's like, hey, I want you to get to my field, I can start them at a field. I can also end them at the end of the day. I want them to come back to my mixing plant, avoid any tolls and highways. I go ahead and hit optimize path. This is generating the most optimized route for your operator to go in and complete those jobs so that they're not passing a field on their way. So it's going from field 1 to 2 to 3 and putting them in a chronological order that makes sense. I go ahead and hit confirm. It'll update those work order lists here, and it will update the work order list on the tablet. Our newest feature that is still in cooperator testing, we do have customers actively using this now. It'll be available for everyone the middle of March, but you can go ahead and select all the work orders here, or you could just select one if you wanted. But if you have a Gen 4 display, we are now able to send the entire work order to that display. And so if you're familiar with Operations Center, or Chris, I'm sure we'll show you this later, you can go out to Work Planner today and you can take a work order and send it to that Gen 4. Well, here in AgLogic, we're actually taking that work order from that back office or wherever it was created and sending it on to the Gen 4. So all you have to do is select those work orders. You select this send to equipment. And now for these work orders, since this is a Gen 4, when the operator pulls into the field for this work order, it'll automatically populate on his display that customer farm field information, the product details, any boundaries associated, guidance lines associated, and prescription files. And so now instead of them having to roll into the field and manually enter this data, and potentially misspell or do something like customer 1, farm 1, so you don't have clean data in Op Center, all they have to do is roll in the field and go. Again, this is for your Gen 4 displays. For this, you will still need an iPad for the time being because we do offer additional features that aren't built into the display yet when it comes to tracking data, as far as like weather and other information that we're tracking on the back end. But this does really save time and enhance the operator's experience as they go from work order to work order, because all the details they need are already built into their display. All right, I'm going to keep going. In addition, one other thing we have here on this map page is the live weather radar. We do have some snow and stuff happening here in my area, so you can kind of see that coming in. as throughout the day. So if you are doing some like centralized dispatching and you want to see how the weather's going, you have the ability to watch that in real time with your map of where your work orders are. Another feature here is if I wanted to do product totals, so here's all my work orders for this particular applicator, I could pull a product total report and get the total product that this operator is going to need for the day. If you are not integrated with a back office system, so maybe you don't have AgVans or Echelon or Agrian or AgVerdict or any system like that today, two things. One, you can create manual work orders here in AgLogic, and also we do have free integration. So if you have a back office system that I didn't mention, which I didn't mention them all, but if you have one and you want to know if it's integrated, definitely reach out to your dealer and we can answer that for you or ask the question here. Or if they're not integrated, it's free to integrate with AgLogic, and we have a great API support team that works with third parties to help integrate that system. If you want to just create work orders today, like maybe you're manually creating work order, you're printing off a map and like writing on there what the job is, you can do that in the AgLogic system. And so instead of giving them a paper copy, everything is electronic and they will get it through the iPad or Android tablet. And on the flip side, you'll get that detail back. I went here to the Customer Farm Field tab. This list is generated from the work orders that are created in AgLogic. So if you have all your data in AgVans, as you start creating and pushing work orders to AgLogic, it'll start generating a customer list for you. We have a feature here. If I have a customer and Big R Farms is one of my key accounts and I'm a sales agronomist, I can come in here and put a star next to them. And now anytime Big R Farms gets a work order completed, I will get a notification letting me know that that work order has been completed. So I can go look at that as applied data if I want, or I can go out and see any additional information about that work order. In addition, we send email and text messages to your growers, letting them know a work order is completed. So if you'd like your grower to be notified when a work order is completed, you can come in here and enter their email and or phone number. And then as soon as your operator hits complete on that tablet, it'll fire off a text message and or email letting them know that this work order for this field with these products was completed at this date and time. You can also draw boundaries in AgLogic. A lot of times you have great boundaries in your back office system, or if you have good boundaries in Operations Center, when you send that work order out to the display, it'll pull up those boundaries for you. But in the event that you don't have boundaries in either of those locations and you need the ability to draw a boundary, we have this very simplistic tool here that you can come out and draw, just however. Obviously, this isn't your most accurate or best use boundary use case, but it is possible to do that today. I'm going to go ahead and jump ahead to the equipment. I kind of talked about a little bit of once you assign a work order to a piece of equipment, it'll get that background color. Well, you assign that out here in AgLogic. And so you can go in and there's an equipment list. We've even got a Haggy in here. You can go and select your type of equipment. You assign it a background color. And now anytime a work order is completed for this piece of equipment, or assigned, that work order will have that blue background color and a number associated with where it falls in that schedule. To associate your equipment with equipment in John Deere Operations Center, you name it whatever you want, and then this will populate all the equipment you have access to in Operations Center. You select whichever piece of equipment you need, and it will populate the rest of the data for you. Similar for Raven Slingshot, you go ahead and enter your API access code here, and then it will populate all your displays that have Raven Slingshot. In AgLogic, we have over 60 different components that you can capture at the end of a work order or the start of a work order, and you can assign those based off by each component. So I know at the end of each, especially if you're spraying, at the end of that time, you have to have a sprayer ticket or something that can be audited. We have had several customers use our completed field ticket for auditing. We just had someone, actually last week I was traveling and they got audited by their local county agency came in and they said the amount of detail that they got on that AgLogic completed field ticket, and they wish more people did that. So what that is you can customize what you want your ticket to be. If you put optional, that means that field will show up for your operator to answer at the end of the job. But if they don't fill it out, they can still complete that ticket. If you put required, that field will show up. And if they don't fill it out, they can't even complete the ticket. Not included means that field doesn't even show up. So these are some of the different things we have. We have like field location. So if you're applying something like dicamba and you want to capture some of that information, the weather conditions we are capturing at the start and stop of every job. They are overridable in the event that, you know, maybe you're down in a valley and it says it's one thing, it's really another. You would have the ability to override that. And then we have the different application conditions, liquid versus dry, and the cleaning process, as well as pest conditions. So all of these are customizable to what you need or what makes sense for your business. One other thing I want to show you on this page is the field assessment questions. And so this feature set does not have to be used. If you have 0 questions here, then your operator sees nothing. But this is an additional safety enhancement we created in alliance with some of our customers we have today. And so you can add, these are just examples, but if you have a field assessment question, when your operator rolls into the field, instead of seeing start job, it'll say start field assessment. It'll ask them whatever questions you have here. They need to answer yes, no, or not applicable. And then they will, once they've completed those questions, then the start job will appear. So again, this isn't necessarily stopping them from unloading those booms, but it is another point of them having to confirm that they checked for those obstacles before doing so. All right, I'm going to keep going. Under reports, assigned order summary, this is very similar to what you have on the schedule page, except this is on your applicator side. It just basically lists in like an Excel format. So if you wanted to see what all is assigned to your operators today and you wanted, or excuse me, your application equipment today, you could pull a report for that. Unassigned basically shows you everything that's on the schedule page that has yet to be assigned. You can put work orders on hold. So as a work order comes into AgLogic, if there is, let's say right now you're meeting with growers and maybe you're selling them seed, and so you put a plan together or you generate a work order, but really you need to verify what happened or what was actually planted and what's going on before you release that. You could put that work order as on hold. And so then once that work order, after you've reviewed it, you move it back to open and then it can be scheduled. Any work orders on hold are unable to be scheduled until they're moved to open. Applicator schedule, this one's kind of a cool one because you can go in here, you can select a particular applicator or all of them, and it will show you everything that that applicator's done in their own map. And so we have this first applicator here, they've got 2 work orders assigned to them. If they were in the field right now, I could actually see them at work order 1. I could see them drive along what route they took to get to work order 2. I can see if they stopped off for lunch in Granger, but it essentially allows you to watch each applicator by themselves on the map when they go from work order 1 to the next to the next. And so it's just another way for you to see or manage your fleet throughout. Blend summary, some of you probably have a back office system that's integrated with like your Junkie or Kaler system. If you don't and you still have like a manual system, you can come out here and pull a blend summary for all of the work orders you have assigned today, and it will show or break down for you those products by work order. And so as they're pulling in, if you need to see that detail or pull, if you need someone in your blend shed to have access so they can get the next load ready, this allows you to pull a report around that. Similar to the blend summary, we have a product summary report. I've seen customers use this for a slew of reasons. One being maybe it's the end of the season and our operators have the ability to adjust that product total. So what they come out here and pull a report, a completed report for a given time frame, and they want to know how much product was actually applied versus what was planned. So planned would be what you pushed into the system or what you sent out to your operators. Actual would be what they actually applied in the ground. Another time I've seen people pull this report for any of their open orders or unassigned orders. And because they want to see, hey, the season's winding down, I want to see how much product I need for the rest of the year. And then you can also pull this by applicator or tender. And so sometimes I want to see, hey, how much did applicator A apply compared to applicator B? Or how much product for this day does the Jordan's tender need? And then I can get a product total and get his load ready based off what that report says. Completed orders, this will show you everything that was done. You can put in today's date, you can put in several days, but essentially it will pull a report to let you see what was done for the day, and it will tell you if a text message and or email was sent. These ones are not entered, but it will tell you that. It'll tell you how much was completed. So like this one, I can tell they only completed 220 of the 240 acres. Why is that? Well, I can come in to that work order and see additional work order details. So I can see any products that are associated with that work order. I can see anything that happened to that work order. So I can see it's completed. Once an operator completes that work order, I do have the ability to come in here and adjust that sprayer ticket if I need to. So maybe they forgot to enter something and I need to add it. I can come in here and do that and adjust it accordingly. And then we also provide the audit history. So anything and everything that happened to that work order. So this was a manually created work order. If it was pushed from a back office, it would tell you that. And it essentially tells you anything and everything that happened to that work order here on that page from the time it was created until the time it was completed. Then we have this completed field ticket, which I'm going to get in and show you here in a second, which is that sprayer ticket I was talking about. And then we also have applicator and operator statistics. I'm going to go out and actually show you some live that we've kind of cropped some of that stuff from. So first is the completed field ticket. This ticket is what is generated at the end of every work order. So the operator's gone out, they've completed that job, it sent off the text message and or email to your grower, and then it also created this completed field ticket. On here, you get the customer farm field information, you get the product details, EPA numbers, rates, quantities. You get any of those fields that you've required or left as optional for them to fill out. So you're getting that start and stop time, weather information, any of those other custom application questions. They can also leave comments. So maybe there's no reentry into the field. They could leave that comment here. They go ahead and sign their name. It also pulls in their license number and expiration date. On top of that, if you have a John Deere JD Link connected machine or a Raven Slingshot connected machine, we have 3 maps available for you. So this breadcrumbs will be generated on any machine because that's off of your tablet breadcrumbs. It will show your entry point, which is your dark red pinpoint, and then your any tendering locations, which is your tan colored pinpoint. If you have that JD Link or Raven Slingshot, we will also pull in your coverage map and your as applied map. So we do have some customers that will actually use this for billing. They'll go in and bill this off and attach it with their product total billing sheet and send this to their growers. We have other people that will come and look at this if they get customer complaints or questions about what was actually applied or how many acres were actually applied. They'll go in and pull this off and it will show that way it's available for your grower to go ahead and look and see what was actually done. To the completed field ticket, we do pull reports based off the applicator and the operator. So these are your productivity and efficiencies reports. A lot of times the applicator and operator is a 1-to-1, so these 2 reports will match. But based off the season or maybe even off what you're applying, one operator might jump into several pieces of machinery. And so you can pull this report either by the applicator statistics or by the operator. In this case, I have the applicator pulled up. It's showing comparison of travel versus idle versus loading, waiting, and applying. So this one, for example, I can see here, Serena has a significantly high idle time compared to the rest. Why is that? Maybe I need to verify, you know, especially if I have like a lease machine or one that's on rent, I don't want really high time here. So maybe there's something I need to look into. You also have some that their travel time is significantly higher than the rest. Well, why is that? You know, why are they, you know, why are we have so much travel for some of these? Maybe it's something you have an answer to, right? Maybe you always send one piece of equipment to the farther away fields and they work their way in. But this just allows you to ask some of those questions. We also put it into a graph for you so you can compare the count of work orders to the average area of work. And so like here, I have one that has really a high number of work orders, but maybe their overall area worked is really low. And so maybe I gave him the 10, 15 acre fields. And so he's gotten a lot of work orders done, but his fields are really small compared to somebody else who might have a high work area. So their fields are like 200 acre fields, but they don't get as many work orders done. Again, not answering anything, but hopefully allowing you to ask the right questions. Lastly, we will give you a usage breakdown overall. I will tell you the industry average right now is low 30s, high 20s. So this sum of applying time, 48%, is really good. But this also allows you to see some other information. So if you have really high wait time and your wait time is really high, maybe you need another tender truck. Or if you have really far travel time, maybe we need to look at centralized dispatching or sharing equipment with other locations so that we're making sure the equipment is being efficient. With that, I was going to jump into the operator demo. Chris, I didn't know if we had any questions. I can't see as I'm presenting that you want me to answer now.
Yep, no, none in the queue.
Okay, I'm going to jump right into the operator. They do have two different tabs. Their map view is what you see here. On the left-hand side, it'll list their work orders in which they need to complete them. And on the right-hand side, it shows where their work orders are. It'll also show any landmarks. And so they can get turn-by-turn directions to these at any given point in time. They also get that live weather radar, so they can see if a storm's rolling in or if they see a big cloud and they want to see what's happening, or even if they want to check the wind speed, they can go ahead and turn on this live weather radar and see that information. We are integrated with DriftWatch, so we're pulling in those sensitive crop locations. We will tell you what the product is. So here you've got vegetables nearby, and we are also integrated with the crop registry. So we will give you that producer's name and phone number and provide a boundary around that DriftWatch location if they've provided it through DriftWatch. They can see the field's boundary at any given point in time. They get those turn-by-turn directions, but they can also update the entry point. So if I roll up to the field today, they have an entry point here in the west corner. I can go ahead and drag and drop that if there's a better entry point somewhere else. Or maybe I'm actually in the south east corner of the field now because I've done some application work and I'm waiting on a tender. I can drag and drop the entry point, and that will update for the tender to let them know I want them to meet me somewhere else. We do send up this out of boundary error. So if I go and I try to start a job and I am not in the right boundary, this will actually flash at me 3 times before it's stagnant. You could go ahead and hit continue or cancel. It does not stop the equipment today, but it does at least provide that extra layer of security that's letting them know, hey, you might want to call and check that you're in the right boundary. Again, you get those turn-by-turn directions. That's to every field and landmark. It's right there in the app. We also provide all the details with the work order. So you're going to get that crop, quantity, rate, density. You're going to get all of the different product names, EPA numbers. You'll see any tenders that are assigned to you. And you'll also see any comments about this work order. So from the web, you can enter comments. In your back office, you can enter comments, which will come over to AgLogic. But maybe they're blend comments on how the product should be blended in the field. Or maybe it's something about that particular customer. Maybe they need to be notified prior to you starting that job, or they want to be notified when you start so they can get out right away. And so any comments that they put in here or that are here, when you go in and select that work order, a comment box will actually pop out and let you see those comments and require you to accept them to move forward. And so it's just another way to communicate with your operators on these work orders as they go throughout the day. This is that auto detect. So I showed you that report about operators and applicators' efficiency and productivity. This is all auto detected in the app today. So we're not tied into the Canvas. As we merge or move into integrate in with Operations Center, we are working hard to pull this data directly from the Canvas. I will tell you, we've done a lot of work in the last 18 months to make this more accurate. And if you pull this report also and compare it to like Machine Analyzer, they're really close. The nice thing about AgLogic, though, it does provide an extra layer. So in addition to just idle, you also get that weighting. We are tracking applying when you're within that boundary and you're moving up to a certain speed, it will track it as applying. If you roll into that field and you're entering, you don't have a Gen 4, so you have to enter your customer farm field data, it'll track you as idle. If the tender is right next to you and neither of you are moving, it'll track that time as loading. Waiting, if I'm sitting idle in the field, the system knows a tender is en route, it'll flip me over into waiting versus idle. And then machine failure, since we're not tied in the Canvas, if your machine fails, we'll flip you into idle and you can manually select machine failure. And then last is transport. The system knows when you're en route to a job or en route to a blend shed, and it'll track that as transport. All of these are overridable. So maybe it says I'm sitting idle, but really I'm waiting. It's just that tender truck isn't en route yet. Maybe it's still at the blend shed or it's finishing up with a different operator. It would track my time as idle and I could flip it over and select waiting so it's tracked appropriately. That is all used for those analysis reports. And because it is tracked through the iPad, again, it can be all makes and models. So we talked in the beginning about prescription files. If you have a John Deere JD Link connected machine or Raven Slingshot, you won't really need to worry about this step because those files are automatically being sent to the display. In the event that you have an older machine or you have a non-Deere that doesn't have that Slingshot subscription, those prescription files are going out to the tablet. All you have to do is pop in a USB, hit transfer files, and then pop that USB into the display. This is really just to help avoid one, that make sure you're not grabbing the wrong files for the job that you're going to do. But two, this avoids your operator having to go back into the office and grab those files and the USB at that time. They will go directly to the cab onto that tablet. You can see where your tender trucks are at all times. So if you ever need to update that location or you want to meet at the next field, you can see where they're located. This is what that completed field ticket looks like. Again, we auto capture those weather conditions. You can adjust them if needed. So if it says 13 miles per hour, but you're down in that valley and it's only 7, you can adjust that. And then those additional questions as well. So I've gone in and I hit complete. I fill out my conditions. I can add my comments. I go ahead and sign, hit submit. That submit is what sends off the notification to the grower that it's done, as well as create that completed field ticket on the web. Then now to our basic, we do have, the basic is very simplistic. They get to see their schedule. They can see those work order details. They're sending their location back to the web at all point in times. And the really nice thing about this is there are also parameters set around your mixing plants. And so the system sets them at 1 mile and 1.2 miles, but you can adjust that if you want to 5 miles, whatever you want it to be. But when that tender truck crosses those parameters, it sends a notification back to the web or whoever you want it to notify to let them know that that tender truck is en route. So if I want to get the next product load ready, I can go ahead and sign up for those notifications and I will know, hey, it takes about 5 minutes to get here or 10 minutes. I can get their load ready so they can pull up, I load and they go. What's coming soon is the mobile scheduler. So today you could, we realize that our dispatchers are always on the go. And so you could today go in and on like a tablet and go to a Chrome browser and type in aglogic.deere.com, and you could dispatch and see all your work orders. It just today is like a lot of scrolling, or in my case, like fat fingering. And so I can't ever click the right work order. So it's just not a super friendly user experience. It's possible, not super friendly. And so we wanted to provide an app that allows you to go and do that schedule, but on the go. So you can do it from your cell phone or your tablet without the scrolling and the fat fingering. So that's to come. Just a little bit to wrap this up is we do provide 24/7 support. We do not release during busy season. And so even though we're constantly doing new enhancements, we will not release those features while you're in season, just so you're not having to learn anything new and we avoid any system downtime. We do free integrations with third parties. So like I said, if you use a back office that I didn't mention and you want to utilize AgLogic, it is free to connect those systems. Customers do drive our enhancements, and we do have a 96% take rate. So 96% of our customers who use us continue to use AgLogic year over year. With that, that is, I know I went really fast. I guess the last two things I would say is we do allow users to demo AgLogic for free for a season. So if you want to test it out this spring on a few pieces of equipment, just to see if you'd even use it or if your operators like it, we will allow you to do that free of charge. Reach out to Kibble and they can help you get that set up. And then if you have any other questions or you want a more in-depth interview and you want to talk through how your business operates today and some of your pain points and how AgLogic can help with that, please reach out to Kibble and we can set some time up to really walk through that and discuss demos and answering some of those pain points as well. All right, cool. That is all I had from an AgLogic standpoint.
Hey, I just have a couple questions here. So, you know, if you haven't implemented something like this, you know, maybe your employees or operators might feel like this is, you know, big brother eye in the sky. I guess what are some stories that you have around, you know, customers that had some folks that were feeling that way, and then after they implemented it, how was after that?
Yeah, so I will tell you that's not uncommon, but I will say that there is one of the very first visits I ever did. One of the gentlemen was an operator, and he told me if he can't download it on his flip phone, then he doesn't want it. And so I was like, oh, great. How am I going to get this guy to come around? Well, it was being pushed by his company, so he got on board. But I will tell you, 6 months later, I went to visit, and I said, hey, how are things going? Like, how did it go in the spring? Were you able to adapt to the iPad that you had to use it on? And he told me that it was the first time in the 7 years that he has been operating that he's gotten to go to more than one of his grandson's baseball games. And so just the amount of time that he was able to save through the electronic dispatching, they were able to increase tenders to get him more because they had proof or documentation to support that. And so that was a big deal to him because he had gotten to see more of his grandson play. And so I will tell you that, yes, there's a lot of times their apprehension, like, I don't need Big Brother. I don't want someone looking over my shoulder. I do a great job. I know that, which is awesome. But I will also tell you, we have customers that use these reports of, like, this operator is the most efficient. He's going to get the new piece of equipment. Or, hey, we know we have a lot of time waiting. We need more tendering equipment. Or, hey, we need to do something more like centralized dispatching so we can get our fleet. So these reports are not intended to watch one particular. It's allowing you to see your fleet and find those areas of opportunity for that efficiency. So that's one thing I would say as far as not the apprehension of using that functionality.
Perfect. And then what if I want to sign up and get on board? What's the training, or how much time does it usually take to get things up and running?
Yeah, so the way that we do training is, so if you want to demo it, we would sit down with your like admin or managers to really set up the org. And then we do one-on-one training with your dispatcher and operators management. And then we do a separate training for your operators And tender truck drivers, it's really just focused on them and the app. And I would say it takes a good season to really feel comfortable with it. Maybe not your operators as much because theirs is pretty simplistic, but for that manager to really understand the reports, or that dispatcher, logistics personnel to really understand all the features and functionalities to make them super efficient, that takes about a season to truly feel comfortable, which is why we give the demo for free.
Perfect. Any other questions on the line? And we can circle back too if you pick up any questions a little later on. Okay, so we're on time here. We can keep plugging away, or does anybody want to take that stretch break? Okay, I'm hearing the crickets because I have everybody muted. Okay, if everybody's cool, we'll keep plugging away. So I'm going to switch gears here now. Again, with the chat, I'm going to transition over to Operations Center and hit on some topics, an overview of Operations Center, and then focus on some things that you as ag service providers might use it for with your customers. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay, can you guys see my screen now?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so and I do have the chat up on my phone, so I'll try to monitor that. But guys, if you could just jump in if somebody asks a question and I miss it. And again, I do have a list of things I want to review, but this is your session, so if you have something you want to see, just chime in. So one, I'm just going to go over the basic account setup first. This Operations Center is a free tool from John Deere, but you do need to set up an account. And this is something too, if you guys are leveraging this with your own business, giving access to your employees, they would also need to set up an account. So it's very simple. Just go to myjohndeere.com, and then there's the username and password, and then it says no account, set up account. They do need to have an email address. It'll send them an email to verify, and then you're off and running. So this is the landing page for My John Deere. There are some other tools on here that I'm not going to review, but might be helpful for you. There is a display and command arm simulator. We use this for training, and we do have customers that use this for training. So you are getting practice with the display without letting the engine hour meter tick up, just sitting out in the yard. There are a lot of different features there. But I'm going to just click on Operations Center. And the account that I am using is one of my coworker's accounts, her farm. So this is a real account, and we'll just go through how this is laid out. If you haven't been in Operations Center for a while, things have changed a little bit. We're going to start with the website, and then when we have time, I'll switch over and I'll show the mobile app too, because that's come a long way. So just layout of this website is it prefers Google Chrome. So if you're not using Google Chrome, that's where we run into some issues. Defaults to the landing page of the map, which is up on the top here. And then we have kind of a logical progression of how things would go throughout the season. Map setup, which we'll hit on a few of these tools. Plan, analyze, and then more is just kind of the bucket of things that really don't fit into those other categories. When you are working with customers, so you'll have your own organization, and then if you want to work with customers' data that's in here, send files to a customer, you need to create a partnership. And then once you're partnered, which I'll hit on how that works, once you're partnered, then you switch partnerships by clicking your name, or the org name, I should say, and then your list of all the partners that you have are listed here. Very good resource on the top here is with the question mark. Deere puts out releases around every 2 months. So all the changes are highlighted in here in these release notes. They have been doing a good job of doing quick, 2 to 3 minute how-to videos on their YouTube channel, and that they're located here. If you are having an issue, this is where you can put a ticket in with John Deere. And then feedback or help documentation, excuse me, is really good. I'll show one article there about prescriptions. And then feedback is not if you're having a problem. That's if, hey, I would really love Operations Center to do this. And they have a team that reviews those feedback suggestions every week. And they might actually reach out to you. We had examples where John Deere reached out and then decided to implement a feature request, and that person that suggested got to try it out early. Okay, so first off, we will go to Team Manager. So click on Setup and then Team. So this is the key step that if you are going to add staff members to have access to your own account, or if you're going to create a partnership with a customer organization, this is where you would go. There are a handful of different types of people that are in Team. There's a partner, so that's if you were going to partner with another one of your customers. Operators, that's only if you want to monitor or to document who's running the machine. This is different than the AgLogic piece. This would be in the actual display, the 2630 or the Gen 4, where they could actually pick their name. So an operator does not have access to Operations Center by default. And then staff member is if you are having a person on your team have access to the system. And then there's a final one here called connection. John Deere has a pile of connected software companies. I don't even know what the latest number is, that have ways to connect to Operations Center to pull data in and out of the system. And how you manage those is up in here and under connections. But there's a lot of things like Climate Field View, Raven Slingshot. Yeah, there's a pile of them. Crop insurance companies. So the key thing here is if you want to add a partner, so you want to have access to a customer's account, there's two ways to do this. Grant access to my partner. So this is me granting access to my account to somebody else, or request access. So I'm just going to do a next. And then this is where it gets really granular, where a customer or you can request various levels. Same thing with your staff. You can grant them different levels of access depending on their role. So I'll just do the Cliff Notes version here. And this is we get questions about this. Just got a question from a co-op last week. They weren't able to download files. Well, that's because they didn't have the right access from that customer. By default, it gives pretty broad access. In general, the lower the number is the less that you can do. So view equipment. So this would be like a staff member that can only see the equipment. They can pull up the app. They can see what the equipment is, see the fuel level, get directions, do remote display access. And then edit is where we start being able to actually change things with the equipment in Operations Center. Manage is actually adding and deleting. And then this also is where you can grant separate access to do remote display access and set up files. Now, and with all these, if you want to edit it, you just dial it up or down. Okay, and then the next one is org management. So being able to add people to your organization or just view or nothing at all. So I can actually go down to nothing if I wanted to. Locations, this is one where we run into a lot. If you only have view locations, then you're only going to see the boundaries. If you have analyze, then you'll actually be able to see the as applied maps or the yield maps. And then manage is actually being able to edit, so to post calibrate data, download data from files. So that was the example last week where they didn't have the right level. Work is this work planner, which we'll hit on. And then finally, this one's off by default. A lot of people think this is giving you access to their John Deere financial account. This is when you have a connected software company like Granular or in the future Harvest Profit to be able to have a profit loss map in the Operations Center and see that. So once you get it dialed in, you hit next, and then that person's going to get an email in their email box, and they have to hit log in. They'll hit accept, and then they'll log in and confirm that they want this partnership. And that's probably the biggest thing that we run into is if you don't do this, if you're working with a farmer and you're not doing this sitting right next to them where they have access to their email, the email gets lost and you'll have to go back in here and resend it. So that's partners at a high level, or team, I should say. So within setup also, depending on what you guys are doing with customers, the three other big areas are land and products and setup file creator. Land is where you manage the field list, guidance lines, boundaries. See, it pops up when there's new things that come in here. I'm gonna hit no thanks. By default, it's a map view. You can also do a table view, which there's some nice features in here. A lot of accounts have a lot of garbage where they've created field names over the years, just sitting at the end of the field, and it goes up and it's only used 1 year. So you can actually sort by last work. See here, this organization has fields that haven't been touched for a lot of years. I can actually hit no work. So here's a field that doesn't have any data at all besides a boundary. If you want to quickly archive the list to make it clean, you can select them and hit archive. And then it's not deleting them, it's just putting them in an archive. Also, if you're doing boundary management, you can quickly filter by no boundaries. In this interface, there's a lot of similar buttons. So if I do want to add a new field, flag, boundary, or guidance line, I do it right here. Select the client farm field or client and farm it's associated with, and then hit save. I hit on boundaries real quick. Boundaries are going to be more and more important going forward. John Deere's got some data that well over, I think it's over 50 or 60% of the fields in the system don't have boundaries. But this will enable things like work planner. There'll be an estimated time to finish on the app later this year too. But if you want to create a new boundary, similar to AgLogic, you can draw one from scratch, but we know that's probably not going to be the most accurate. We can also do it from a previous operation. These are hit or miss, I would say, based on how well that previous operation went. I'll just show you an example. I'm going to choose this layer, and then it'll give me a preview of what that looks like before I hit save. So sometimes they're really good, and sometimes, if this was a drown out spot when you were harvesting, then your boundary's not going to be very accurate. But you can always go back in and edit it. I'm going to hit cancel so I don't mess up their list. This is where we can also manage guidance lines. We have some customers that are very, very good with guidance line management. And if you were to get rid of their guidance lines, they'd probably get their gun out and take care of you. But we have a lot of others that are just creating guidance lines and things are building up over the years. So this is a similar where you can see when it was created and archive. There is a nice tool here. I'm going to just check it all. You can export, and a lot of these pages in the Operations Center, you can export data out in multiple formats. Spreadsheet, we have any spreadsheet ninjas here, gives you all the raw acres, the guidance line heading lat long, or you can do a PDF, and I'm going to see how this looks. Yeah, this is a great in the cab look if you want to have a backup in case something happens. Gives you a summary of what's all going to be exported. Maybe we should have chosen a few less fields. Okay, it popped up. So the first page is a summary with all your fields and both boundaries, and then each subsequent page is each specific field. Let's find one here. So here's one that's got a boundary and a guidance line, and it gives you the lat long and heading. It's a nice report as a backup as long as you got good data. Okay, so that's land. I know it's a high level quick overview there. I'll go do products. It's very similar. This is where we add our varieties and our herbicides. So I'll add product. This John Deere's got a really good database. Do chemical, and I'll do fungicide. Let's see what we got here. So here we got Trevor Pro. I'm going to hit that. Now I can hit next, or I can go back in and I can select more. So it's going to add 3 if I do this. If for some reason they don't have the product, you can make a custom one, but it's very rare I've found that they don't have everything in there. Gives you the registration number, and then you can actually choose what form it is, and then hit save. So now that's on your list. Once you've added all your products, now we can actually create take mixes. So I'm just going to randomly pick something here. So don't look at me weird if I'm picking something that doesn't make 0 sense. Okay, 3 products. I'm going to hit generate a tank mix. And I can edit it if I already have one, but I'm just going to say 20 gallons an acre. And then, yeah, don't make fun of me here. I'm just randomly throwing numbers. So now it's telling me this is my total product, how much of each product I'm adding, what's the carrier, and then let me put my tank size, area to work, let's say 600. So it quickly tells me how many acres per tanks needed for that volume, total volume, and then a breakdown for each product. And then if you want to put some mixing instructions or something like that, you can do that here. What's nice too, if those of you running tank mixes, there was a limitation in the past where you could only have 6 products at one time. And now with the Generation 4 displays, the latest update now, it can do, I think, up to 16 or 20. I can't remember the total number, but it's pretty large. And what's nice is if you choose that tank mix in the display, it'll document each product accurately. So here's my tank mixes. Okay, so the idea behind doing all this pre-work, getting your land products created ahead of time. Now, when you go to create a setup file for a customer, everything's going to be there already. So I'm just going to choose my display, do test. And then hit start. So it walks you logically through the flow here. You can see on the top we have land, equipment, products, operators. I'll just select everything. And next. Which machine? So if you have a JD Link, the machine is already in the system. If you don't have the machine there, you need to create one. You can just click this Add Equipment button and it'll walk you through. We also need to have an implement. Next, choose your products or tank mix. That's what you want to do. Hit next. You can choose your operator if you want. It's not required. Hit next. And now this gives you a summary of all the products, machines, fields that are going to go. Hit create file. And now with JD Link, this is nothing new, but if you have a JD Link enabled machine, you can choose the machine and it will automatically send that setup file to that machine. Or you can hit create without sending and it'll just download it to the files page. Okay, so I'm going to cancel out of that. I don't want to load up their account here. So that's the main areas under setup. Next, under plan, Allie mentioned work planner quite a bit. I'll just quickly run through this, and then if this works, I'll play a quick video on how this works in the cab. So the idea behind work planner is it's Generation 4 only. The intent is that you can send a plan to the machine, and as it loads in or goes into the boundary, it'll automatically pre-populate everything. So I'm going to do a seeding plan here first. You got to choose your year. I'm going to hit plan seeding. So you can do one field at a time. You can do multiples. Hit next. Choose my crop. And then now here's where you can apply your seeding rates, your varieties, and your prescriptions. So you can choose one variety, you can add multiple varieties. So I'm going to rate. And I'm just picking stuff randomly. So the idea here, when I pull into the field, it'll automatically load all these products automatically. Okay. Guidance lines. So in this one field, I didn't have any guidance lines, but this one I have two. I'm going to include them both. This one that's starred, that guidance line will actually load automatically when I enter the field. Put my rate here. And then choose my machine. Okay, so for those of you doing this custom, you can actually put your work order number in there. It's not required. And then you can actually put work instructions that'll pop up too. Okay, so I'm going to hit save. So now I have a new work plan. John Deere's making a lot of adjustments to this. If we have time, I'll fire up the mobile app and you'll see how the work plans look on there as well. So if you even don't have a Generation 4, you can use the app for your work plan. But as the work begins, you will actually see these tick off. So now I'm going to need your feedback, Allie, to see if this works. I'm going to fire up this presentation. So this is a quick video. It shows what the experience like is in the cab when you pull into a field that's got a work plan versus one that does not. So I'm kind of gambling here. Oh. Okay, Allie, can you see my presentation?
Yep, I can.
Okay. Okay, so we're going to see if this works here. Okay, so Allie, did that come across?
Yeah, I saw the video. It just didn't have the sound accompanied with it.
Oh, okay. I'll have to figure that out. Basically, he just was showing left to right and how quickly it loaded all the prerequisites that you created in this plan on the left side, while on the right side they were still hunting and pecking. We know plans change, so the operators still can change things in the display if something, it's not the right variety, they need to change the rate, whatever, but it does do all that preloading ahead of time. Okay, so that's Work Planner. That's relatively new. John Deere's going to make a lot of improvements to that going forward. So, okay, so next one I wrote down was prescriptions. I know a lot of you guys do prescriptions for customers this time of year. And if they have Operations Center and they've given you access, you can load them to their account and share them with them. So this is we get a lot of questions about this every year. This is a great example of this help documentation. And because you're never going to remember this year over year, or some of you might, but there is a little bit of a nuance. So I'm just going to type prescription. And it says, okay, so there is a tool in Operations Center to create prescriptions through Agrian. You can actually import those third-party prescriptions and then edit them in Agrian. But we're just going to look at this article, how to upload third-party prescriptions to Operations Center. So they have a nice little GIF or GIF of how to do this. So it needs to be compressed first. Okay, so they put the files in the RX folder, and then now they select it, right-click it, and then 7-zip add to rx.zip. And now that'll create a compressed folder with an RX folder. That's the number one issue we run into is either it's not RX, named RX, or it's put in too deep in the tree or in the folder structure. And then down here, you don't have to do this one at a time. You can actually do multiple prescriptions at one time as well. So in these articles too, you can actually click on it, and then it'll actually have its own page. So then you can actually share this with somebody else. Okay, so that's how you create the zip file. Now I'll go and I'll show you how to upload it. So under More, there's a tool called Files. And you click Upload. So I actually, in the interest of time, I created the zip. Oh, here it is. I'll actually create it here. RX. Okay, I'm going to select them. Add to rx.zip. Okay, so now I have it. And I'm going to upload. So this is the one that just came up. And then you see it acknowledges it as prescription. And from there, if you're partnered with the customer, you can now assign it. So this is kind of nice too. You don't necessarily have to be in their organization. You can just choose the organization that you want to assign it to. Or you can hit transfer to equipment and choose the piece of equipment. You will have to be in their organization in order to do that. And then when they're sitting in the cab, there's a notification that pops up and saying new file received. And then they have to assign it to the field. Also in this files area, there is ways to share raw data from your account. Let's say you're spraying with your sprayers, the data flows into Operations Center, and the customer actually wants that raw data file into their organization. I'd say it's not an extremely common thing today, but it is becoming more common. So in order to do that, you need to know the name of the field that you documented on, or the client. And so I'm just going to search back in time. So this is probably one of the more common questions we get too, is this files bucket only by default shows the last 30 days. So I'm going to select a client. And let's see what field I got here. There we go. So these are all the files in that date range that are associated with this client and this field. So this is actually the raw data coming up off the monitor. You can see it's documentation data, the date and the size. This is basically the same data that would come off the display if you put a USB stick in. So you have a few options here. You can select the files, multiples or one at a time, and you can assign to that partner. And so that data will then go across into the operations center, into their account. Probably another common use of this is if you want to download this into another software package like SMS. So you can actually download this raw data file. There's two options, desktop or John Deere Data Manager. I'll show you that. That's how we actually easily upload data from a USB stick or create put setup files on sticks. But I'm going to hit download. It wasn't terribly large here. Okay, so I'll go to my downloads folder. Here it is. I'm going to extract. Okay, so now when I open up SMS, I'll navigate, like I'm looking for the USB stick, but I'll navigate to this folder, and then it'll find that data. So I mentioned John Deere Data Manager. That's also under this More tool, excuse me. It basically is just going to download a small application, and I already have it on my computer. So fire up. This is also now recently compatible with Macintosh. So if you have customers that are using Mac computers and you are working with them to get their data off of a display that's not connected, they can use this on a Mac now. Area up. So you have to log in with your Operations Center account. You choose your the drive where your USB stick is, and then you pick the organization that you're partnered with. And I have a lot of organizations, so this takes a long time to upload. One call out too, this is a common question we get where something's not working. It'll call out here if you need to download a new version. So I actually should download this version. And then also, if you notice when you did that setup file builder, it asked if you wanted to download it or take it to files, or if you wanted to do it, send it to Data Manager. It'll automatically open Data Manager when you open that file, and then you choose the org, and it'll put it on the stick. Other tool here, if you are doing software updates to your displays, your Gen 4 displays via USB stick, we can get them over the air through JD Link. But this software manager tool is how you download the software updates to USB stick for your displays and receivers and rate controllers. One thing I'll call out here, this bulk boundary creator, this is a dangerous tool. It's got its place. If you have a customer that you're working with in their Operations Center account and they don't have any boundaries at all, they've never driven any, and you don't want to take the time to go into each individual field and create a boundary based on a previous operation, this will, if there's no active boundaries, this will automatically go in and look at this priority of operations and then create a boundary based on what's there. So if it's got any seeding layers, it'll use those first. And if there's no seeding, then it'll move to harvest, no harvest, then application, etc. This works. It's not perfect. It's based on how well the past was that it's looking at. A lot of them will need to be edited a little bit. But we have had one specific co-op that had, tens of thousands of fields in the system with no boundaries, and somebody clicked this and it created a big mess. So just be careful. Okay, last couple things. I'll just go into analyze. So in analyze, there's 3 main areas here. We'll start with field analyzer. This looks a little bit different if you haven't been in here for a while. There used to be 2 field analyzers, a beta and a normal field analyzer, and they're now condensed into one. So you choose the field you want to look at, and then choose your layer. So it's pretty simple. There are some things that are kind of unique to the John Deere system in here. One is it will tell you the piece of equipment. So this might be helpful if you're trying to fight a claim, or someone's got a claim and you want to see which piece of equipment sprayed what. It'll show you the serial numbers of the equipment right there. If there's multiple pieces of equipment, you can actually go into this equipment layer, and it'll actually create a layer based on which piece of equipment harvested what. This is just one combine, so it's one color. And we have also a lot of other things with fuel efficiency, fuel rate, productivity with our equipment. One call out for customers with electric drive planters and SeedStar 4. If they get their displays updated this year to the latest software update in Gen 4, and then they'll also have to have us update the software on their planter to the latest and greatest software for the planter. We'll actually see singulation, downforce maps, etc. On Operations Center on the website and also on the mobile app. Again, here I'll go back to my yield map. If I hit share export, gives me a few options. Just create a report. So this is a single page report, which we've had for a while. There's also this option. So if I showed you how you could share the raw data. If you have a customer that they just want one layer or one pass, you can go to that layer and then select the partner that you want to share it with, and then hit share work data. And then now that layer is going to go across to their org, and you won't have to manually move USB sticks. Last thing on Field Analyzer, you can in the legends, you can play with legends by hitting edit, and you can actually edit the legends to the right buckets, and then you can save a template. So if you want to have the colors be all the same in each view, that's how you do that. And then, sorry, my little view here. So edit on this tab is where you can actually edit area harvested. So if it says it was 297 acres, but it's actually for crop insurance, it's 295, you can do that. There is the previous version of Field Analyzer where you can actually click in and edit, do your post calibration of yield. And they're working on getting this into the new Field Analyzer. They just kind of hit it just for this one feature. So we have examples where people chose the wrong crop season, the wrong crop, switched from soybeans to corn and then switched the crop in the monitor. Didn't have the right varieties loaded. So if I have my scale tickets, I can punch that in here, right in here, and hit save. So, okay. So that was Field Analyzer. Another tool under Analyze is just Analyze, and this is really a glorified spreadsheet with some filters that you can apply. So you can filter by crop and season and what task you're doing up here. I'll go to harvest. So it defaults to fields, and I can sort by high to low on yield. The little dashed line here, so this is all my corn fields for 2021. The little dashed line is what the average yield is that year. You can quickly see which ones perform the worst. And same thing with varieties. This is very similar on the mobile app, very similar experience. And then what's nice, if you want to view it here, that's great. But if you are an Excel person, again, you can hit share. A few more options here. You can do 2 options for PDF where it's going to be a summary or very detailed list. If you want to dump it into an Excel spreadsheet, you can do that too. The last one I showed you on the field analyzer page, the way to do a 1 layer at a time. This is a bulk report that will do a field layer report for every single field that I have selected in that window. I'm going to hit download. And what's different about this is going to go into that files area. So this is a common request that we've had for quite a while. This just came out in the last, I'd say, 6 months or so. So there it popped up right here. And I'm going to hit download. And so now I have a bulk report. And this works for application. This works for seeding. Okay, last one that hopefully will apply to you guys a little bit more too for your own operation. I'm going to go into Machine Analyzer. So Machine Analyzer is where we can look at attributes of how the machine actually performed during a certain period of time. Your machines have to have JD Link for this data information to go up to John Deere. And if you're not aware, John Deere this last summer made JD Link free, so there's no more subscriptions. But you do need to have a 4G modem on the machine or newer, or not newer. You do need to have a 4G modem on the machine for this to work because 3G just got shut off this last year. So if you have any questions about that, we do have a promotion to get machines updated if they have 2G or 3G. So there's different views. You can actually create your own view if you hit Edit Views on the top here. I'm going to do Performance just to start so you can see an example. Choose your date filter. So I just had a customer this last week that had I'm just going to type in 2021, that he's on the Clear Fuel program where he just uses Clear Fuel on everything, and then now he needs to submit a report to the government to get his taxes back. So this is just a simple idle working transport report. During this time period, this last year, this machine has 1,700 hours total and had 244 engine hours during this period. And then during that period, how much idle working transport. Allie had some metrics in AgLogic. She said it lines up well here as well. This is really neat when you have multiple machines that you can compare to. I'm going to look at fuel usage, how much fuel was consumed. Technology usage. This is dependent on the machine. What percent of the time do we actually have AutoTrack on? There's section control with sprayers. There's also, you can look at ExactApply usage, def consumption. So if you don't see what you want to analyze here, you can actually edit a view and then create a new view. And here's all the attributes that you can measure. It is somewhat overwhelming. There is a lot of things in here from the construction system as well. But when we actually dig into some of this data, especially with multiple machines, analyzing why do we have so much idle time here? Why is their working speed slower than average? Why aren't they using section control? Why aren't they using automatic power shift on the sprayers? So here's some sprayer technology. Pulsing, so this is if we're using ExactApply or not. And then See and Spray, this is a new feature where we actually have cameras on the boom and it will only spray when it sees certain weeds. So yeah, A lot of information here. We use this a lot, especially when we're looking at trade cycles to analyze, okay, how many hours do we use? How much should we account for transport, etc. Okay. We have any questions on the horn there, Allie?
Nope, you're so good.
Okay, cool. We have a few minutes left here. So I'm going to switch over to the mobile app and I'll see if I can get this to work here. Okay, so I'm going to show you the mobile app from an iPhone, but this works on Android as well, tablets. And I'm going to share my screen here. Okay. Maybe. Okay. Success. Okay, so this is my phone here. We have Operation Center app on the left. Just a quick plug for the Equipment Plus app that's on the middle there. That's a great app for operators of any of equipment or maintenance. You can actually set up your machines in this app, and then it warns you that it's not a replacement for the operator's manual, but it is a very good cliff notes of the operator's manual. It tells you how to do a nozzle flow check, and it's got lots of nice pictures. So works for planters, combines, sprayers, tillage, even balers. So that's that quick plug. So the Operations Center app, I'm going to open it up. So again, if you're partnered with customers, you can use this app to view their organization. There's 4 buttons on the bottom. John Deere's goal is to unify as much as they can what is available on the mobile app versus what is available on the website. We found that our farmer customers, when they're using the mobile app, they use Operation Center significantly more than if they were to just only interact with it on the website. So just a quick review of how this works. On the home button, got to figure out a way to do a pointer on this on the app here, but there's a little icon on the upper right hand corner that's a little silhouette of a guy. That's how you toggle between different organizations that you're partnered with. So you choose the organization and then hit save, and then it'll flip over to that org. The home page is, I view it as like a timeline of events on that operation. It's kind of like a news feed. On the top is a progress bar for 2021 harvest. This account, they custom seed for a neighbor. So in the spring, they seed about 3,152 acres. They only farm themselves 1,600 acres. So you can see that progress bar. As they progress throughout the season, that progress bar will move up to full. They have to have boundaries for that to work, though. Similarly, skipping down to the fields where it says corn harvest, and it's got the little boundary next to it. That has that same feature. Since we have a boundary, that progress bar will increment up over time as they harvest. With a Gen 4 monitor, these numbers will actually update every 15 to 30 seconds while they're harvesting. So you'll see, or spraying or planting or whatever, you'll see these numbers increment up every 30 to 60 seconds. The maps themselves don't increment up like that. Not yet. They're working on it, but the totals do. On the top, this is really handy, where it says view all equipment. When there's active work being done, you'll see only the active pieces of equipment listed there, and there'll be a little pulsating icon next to them that you'll know that that's active equipment or recently active. So if you have 10, 20, 30 machines, you don't have to filter through all of them you can see which ones are actively working. And I'll show a few more things on equipment here. The calendar and the little filter icon. If I tap on the calendar, this is pretty handy. I can go back in time and see what day's work was actually done. Orange is harvest, blue is application, brown is tillage, and then green is seeding. So scenario here, there's always a day in the spring that you shouldn't have planted. You didn't know until later. So every field that we planted on the 1st of May is crusted under. What did I plant? So I just tapped on the 1st, and now it just went into my timeline and showed me the fields that I planted on the 1st. With the filter, here too, you can filter just by application or work type or a client farm field. I'm going to scroll to the top. There's also shortcut buttons. You see here I have a map and I analyze. I'll get to that in a little bit. Focus on the equipment here. So I'm going to hit view all equipment. So now it's zoomed in. So here's the equipment in this account. If I tap on this tractor, kind of hard to see because they're all stuck inside the shed here. See, it's a little highlighted in orange or yellow. With that, I can now get directions to that machine. It's just going to pop up my my mapping app, give me turn-by-turn directions. You're going to want to see location updated. You see on the app it says location updated 3 months ago. It's because it's been sitting in a shed turned off. When it's actually working with a Gen 4, the location will actually update every 5 to 15 seconds, and you'll actually see a breadcrumb trail, and then the machine will go across back and forth like Pac-Man. It's actually kind of entertaining. You can see fuel status. So this is handy for guys that are tending machines with fuel trailers. And then if you guys haven't experienced remote display access, we can't do this because we're not, this machine isn't on, but RDA, you tap that button and you can actually do a remote display access session right from your phone. That's a tool that I think we just take for granted now these days. When we're actually doing work, it'll have a summary on the bottom of what work's done today, idle working transport status. Under work, it shows me the fields that machine actually did the work in, which if you're looking at sprayers, that might be pretty handy. Alerts. This is only showing the last 7 days, but if there was any diagnostic trouble codes that went off in the last 7 days, which is handy. We have access to this remotely using our service tools as well, but that's another way to get them. And then setup is status of the machine, what software versions we have on the display. So again, if you have an Operations Center account, when things are actually working, this is pretty cool. Go back to home to this field. Here, let's choose this field. I'll pull up the map. Slide to the right is where I can see my legend. On the top, it shows you what layer is showing. I can tap that and then quickly change it to another layer. It's my speed layer. Speed's more entertaining when it looks to high-speed planters. And then similarly here, I can get directions to this field. So if you have a staff member that's just got locations level 1 in their permissions, they wouldn't see the field, but they'd see the boundary. So they could still get directions to that field if it has a boundary. But also here I can click share, and I can send a PDF to Vermont, or I can email it as well. Here, just going to send it to myself here. So there you go. Or you can email it. And there's different attributes of information that's available based on the task. I scroll up a little bit, gives me a summary of the field. Actually here I can actually edit it. So I can change my varieties if I messed it up. I can change crop and season, and I can post calibrate it. So if you're harvesting and you got all your scale tickets, you can edit it right from the phone. Shows me the equipment that was involved in this work. And then weather. The weather actually does show up on the application reports. This is currently from, I believe, AccuWeather, the closest station. There are a couple other options here. This is the weather from start to stop. Shows wind speed. I can choose temperature or humidity. But in the equipment, there is actually a couple options. There's a spot in the display in the Gen 4 where you can actually punch in current conditions, and that would show up on this equipment tile for documentation. There's also a device called Mobile Weather, where it's a weather station that's on the sprayer, and that'll record wind speed, direction, temperature, humidity, delta T. In Operations Center, it'll actually have maps. So we have an example of a co-op that had that on their sprayer. They sprayed a product one day, next day they came back, finished spraying, and the conditions were completely different. And to the line on the map, they could see where the control was better or not. So pretty cool. But yeah, if you have that on, that would automatically document into the system. And in the cab with that system, there's ways to set up alerts so that if the temperature or wind speed exceeds a threshold, it'll beep out in the cab. So that's layers. You can actually, there is a flag icon, so I can see flags, point flags, if they were created in display, rocks, weeds, or I can actually create a flag here as well. I type in field notes. These will actually show up on the website too. I can take pictures, and they will show up on the website also. Okay, last thing, I'm just going to go back to home, and then I'll just pull up this field and analyze. And then this is very, very similar. This is the analyze button here on the bottom. Very similar to what we saw on the website. I can sort my varieties, my fields. If I tap on varieties, that'll show me which fields have that variety if you're going to go scout for some issues. And then we have that share button on the bottom. I can tap that and I can share that as a PDF or an Excel file right from my phone. Oh, and I lied. One last thing. Plan. So here is where those plans that I created in the website, they show up here. So you can actually use this even without having a connected monitor if you don't have a Gen 4. Custom manure applicator we work with, he uses this for his work orders for his operators to let them know the gallons that they need to apply. And in the notes, it'll say if they use instinct or not, type of thing. And you can edit and create work right from the app too. But you have to have all your products, fields, everything loaded ahead of time in order to create work from the app. Okay, I know we covered a lot here. I'm going to stop sharing here. I think everyone's brain might be a little full. Okay, so I know it's a lot. I appreciate everybody sticking with us here. See if I can edit this to unmute everybody. If somebody has a specific question or wants to ask a question verbally, please type it in and I can unmute you. Okay. Appreciate it. I will put up the CCA credit. QR code here. Hey, did I hear somebody want to ask a question? Okay, I appreciate everybody's time. I will send out a follow-up email with more information. Just a couple plugs. Again, if you do have machines that need to be upgraded to 4G MTG prior to spring, please contact your local store. We do have a supply of those to make sure your machines stay connected in Operations Center. And again, if you have a specific question around wanting to get more information around AgLogic or Operations Center, please reach out to your salesperson and they'll help connect the dots. Again, thank you for everybody's time and thank you for your business.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, thank you guys.